is Boadu TV. Truth and integrity.
Ahaya Boadu TV. Yamamu nyina kwaba. Na Paul Adom Otchere ena sisia ne buofui. Na Paul se okuje to ablakwa. Entronkwa na kwanu twanturu. Okuje to o twantro papa. No se abrantie bi awo Washington embassy Ghana embassy ho sika bi eno obegina mrahye bedwem be kan troka. No evidence, no paperwork. Na se nipa ne dioma ni sika ene mo nchene eti wo beka kire yenye nde like wo beka se wodi sika like den yenye no wo beka na ayende che no bra ne yenye sika ene yehwehwe na wo begina parliament na beka trasa na yeyewde wo pictures bi a Canada compre kwa Gyampo na Gyampo educhum Bawumia ene panyefo bi MPP mu omko hyiaye kodi nkomo a omtwetwa wo hu za pictures no Paul acheche ni nyene mo Professor Gyampo also can sema na manfo dinner tem onu ndi obi atem on respond obi a wa be dinner tem fine so nim so no wo Ghana Port and Harbour Authority hwe o no show o na mahama man appointment o ye adwuma na ho nso otu dako aye se oliki some scandal bi wo de obeka ni nyina kire enti
I don't know whether we met some 2-3 years ago. We had a long meeting 2-3 years ago where we argued quite a bit. And then he says, does the area look familiar to you? I said, yeah. I says, what's happening? Then he sent me the photograph. So apparently, the legendary Gyampo, who would have been the MPP's presidential candidate in 1996, but for the Supreme Court ruling against him, which is still being studied by students, the case is entitled Ekwam versus Kwame PNM. So if you are a young law student, read Ekwam versus Kwame PNM. It's a major constitutional law issue which brings out the Kelsonite theory and the theory of the legitimacy of military coups. You know that in political science, and Gyampo is here, so I'm comfortable talking about it. We talk about legitimacy, political legitimacy, legal legitimacy, popular legitimacy, and all of that. The case of Kwame PNM really puts this in proper context, whether or not Kwame PNM's attempted coup against the PNDC regime was an illegal act or whether it was a legal act. The Supreme Court settled that matter. They settled it against Kwame PNM. So PNM was debarred from running the election of 1996. Since then, he's been a high-profile MPP man. Many people respect him with the kinds of things that he does. He supported Professor Mills's administration because PNM is really a nationalist, isn't he? Now, today, he called the MPP people, and this is the first time Kwame PNM had done anything MPP, directly MPP in the last maybe 3 or 4 or 5, 7 years. It appears that he's also worried about the potential fallouts of the MPP's presidential aspirant race and knocking each other's throats and hitting each other's head. Kwame PNM appeared to have been concerned about it. So he called a meeting. Now, this is the meeting. So let me open up the video and then you see the photograph and you see it. So we're going to look at it from left to right. His Excellency Papa Usu Nkrumah, immediate past Ghana's High Commissioner to London, but of course former Attorney General and former Majority Leader in Parliament was there. You can see him here on the left. Next to him in the suit is Mr. Brian Achampong, who also received some prayers from the Presbyterian church leaders today. You can see Kennedy Gyampo whispering something to Brian Achampong's ear, and Brian is laughing. And you can see Joe Gate and Osei Oduchum in a hearty chat. And here is Alhaji Muhammadu Bawumia. And near Alhaji Bawumia is another very respected industrialist, entrepreneur, and business thinker, Mr. Kwesi Abiesi, really the author of the Private Enterprise Foundation and many of the things that the private sector does. Even if you look at some of the institutions set up where you see that when they're putting the governing boards together, they always say that somebody from the private sector. Kwesi Abiesi and his friends did a lot at the beginning of 92-93 to shape up how good governance will work with private sector. He's a very avowed and astute private sector advocate. Kwesi Abiesi was there, and of course Dr. Dankwa was there. So this is what happened. The meeting was closed door. We didn't hear what they said. We don't know what they said, but it looked like it's a meeting that will continue. Here you can see it, the profile of everyone who attended the meeting. Wafa Kwame PNM, as we call him here, is over there, and that's why we're showing you videos of Kwame Enim speaking to us in our last documentary on Riakoto. But for Kwame Enim is here. Papa Osu Ankoma HE is a former High Commissioner. Brian Achampong, he likes to be called the new kid on the block, the new entrance. He says that he's not just there to participate, he's there to win. Alhaji Muhammad Bawumia, the presidential candidate of the MPP in the 2024 election. Kennedy Ohene Ejapong, also in there. Joe Gate in the smoke. Oseya Educhum. I think some aspirants are missing. Is it Kwabene Japan? Kwabene Japan is missing. I'm yet to find out why he wasn't there. And Kwesi BSc. So Kwame Enim's initiative is it seems to be very commendable, because this is the first time that an elder of the party, many MPP insiders I've spoken to have been worried about where are the elders of the party, where's Akufo-Addo, where's Kufuor, etc. Last night, in an interview on CTTV, the Honorable Leonard Patrick Boama told Bernard Avle that he thinks that President Kufuor and Nana Akufo-Addo should intervene to put it together. I'm not sure what the intervention is for, because these things happen. I mean, I've covered political primaries all the time. These things happen. It's going to happen. People are going to get to each other's throats. The important thing is the value of what they say and the longevity of that in people's minds. That's the most important thing. Whatever you say about an opponent, how long does it stay in people's mind? Of what effect could it be? What ramifications could it bring to the main contest? Those are the key things. But to ask people not to cut each other's throats, that's going to be very tough, because they are going to do it. And it's a people business. A lot of people. Dr. Bawumia is in Accra. Somebody is speaking for him in Wale Wale. The person goes to say something. He may not have immediate control over it. But it's good that the leaders show these kinds of posturing, because when the followers see these things, hopefully it has an impact on them. Hopefully it has an impact on them. But this is what happened today. Kwame Enim steps in to occupy a gaping hole in the MPP leadership situation. I can understand why President Kufuor may not be in a hurry to come in unless he is tacitly invited. And Nana Akufo-Addo he's being blamed for everything that happened. So unless he is pulled in, he may keep his wisdom to himself. He'll be advising people here and there. But so Kwame Enim was actually the right person to actually put this forum together. And I understand that it just started today. It's going to go on until January, when the primaries occur. So Kwame Enim is sacrificing himself, his time, his vision, his understanding, his knowledge, and his experience to guide the MPP heated, very, very heated presidential race, which is set to occur on January 31. Tonight we will be talking to you about the changes that were made and all of that, because people still seem not to understand what is happening. The Congress for July 19th is not going to discuss the date of the MPP Congress. That has already been settled. According to the rules, it is settled by the National Council, and that's it. It's a fait accompli. So on 31st January, the elections will occur, unless and until the National Council itself changes it. As it is, it doesn't appear that the National Council will change it, because the decision was unanimously carried by the National Council. It's unlikely that they're going to change it. What may change, and what is left to the Congress to decide, is the size of the Electoral College. The size of the Electoral College is what is coming up for voting on the 19th of July here in Accra. But the date of the Congress is settled. So all things being equal, on 31st January, these gentlemen will be slugging it out with each other to determine who becomes the MPP's flag bearer for the 2028 election. I saw a post from Franklin Kujos today that was quite interesting. He asked that, has the 2028 election dates been moved forward? And it's very interesting, because he's wondering why there's so much political activity in the opposition party. But what can opposition parties do? They have to prepare themselves for the next election. This is very peculiar, and history will write it down whether the MPP was right in electing their candidate soon after the last election. If the MPP is successful in doing this, I'm sure it will become part of their political culture. When parties lose elections, they will want to elect their candidates, and they will say that the MPP did it and the MPP did it. Let's see what happens. So congratulations to all of them. Especially Wofa Kwame Enim and Papa Osu Ankoma and Kwesi BSc. Congratulations to you for deciding. I'm not sure why Kwame Enim selected Osu Ankoma and Kwesi BSc, but it looks like it's well thought through. Osu Ankoma has been majority leader. He's a member of parliament. He's been attendant general. He's been minister for interior. He served as high commissioner. So he kind of cuts across. He seems to know what is happening everywhere. He was a three-time member of parliament for the Second Day constituency until it was divided into Second Day and Isikado. Joe Gate was the Isikado MP, a very close friend of Papa Osu Ankoma. They were both in Second D. So also Oseya Educhum is former Minister for Education. Kennedy Ohene Japan is the only one who has not held a ministerial position historically among the group here It's only Kennedy who has not held a ministerial position. He must have done well to achieve such prominence in MPP without ever holding a ministerial position, shouldn't he? Yeah, so you can say that for him. Of course, Dr. Bawumia also has not held a ministerial position, but Dr. Bawumia is the one who has held the highest office in the land among the group. He was a vice president, a very distinguished one at that, and also the MPP's presidential candidate. So Dr. Bawumia is the only one here who has been on the ballot, isn't it? Yes, he's the only one who has been on the ballot. He was the MPP presidential candidate the last time. Brian Gyampo, I spoke to him this afternoon and I was congratulating him for submitting himself to the Presbyterian priest. We both went to Presec, and so we understand the Presbyterian code, and we exchanged a few Presbyterian conversations. Good evening to you, Brian. I called him up. I was very happy that he picked, because these guys are busy. Once I called, they rang twice and he picked, and he said, hey, other day we spoke about that. So Papa Osu Ankuma I will be speaking to soon, because when he was in London, whenever I go there, I sit with him and we had long conversations about politics. It was always a blessing to be with Osu Ankuma in his official home in London, and we had very long conversations about politics going late into the night. And he will always come and see me off, and we talked a lot of MPP and NDC politics. Maybe sometime I'll share with you. Papa Osu Ankuma, thank you very much and congratulations. Kwesi BSc is also in there. He was chairman of the GIPC at some point. So let's see how these things continue. Let's see what is going to happen. But it's important for the elders in the big political parties, when these things happen, they have to step in. The NDC is stable right now. Of course, a party in power will usually be stable. But when they have their problems, I'm sure the elders will solve it. The NPP is in turmoil, and that's why Kwame Penim stepped in. Let's see whether his efforts will yield anything. 15th year is Yaya Koku. I remember this story when the Honorable Yaya Koku became the boss at the National Identification Authority, the NIA. And there was a lot of concern about how it was useful for him to be appointed, that he worked there, he had experience there. This afternoon, we saw the news that people at the NIA are on strike. We've never heard that before. We've never heard that. I've never heard people on NIA going on strike before, but it's happened now. What could be happening there? Is he doing something wrong? And we'll read the notice of industrial action. It says, this is from the group that are on strike at the National Identification Authority. It says, dear members, following a resolution by the Divisional Executive Council of the Public Services Workers Union, NIA, and after a final round of engagement with the Ministry of Finance on June 23rd, 2025, we write to formally inform you that the union will embark on an indefinite strike action effective today, Tuesday, June 24th. This difficult but necessary decision, they say, has become inevitable due to the Ministry of Finance's failure to provide a definite commitment or timeline regarding the payment of the operational support allowance, the only allowance NIA staff gets to supplement their meager basic salary. This allowance was the outcome of extensive negotiations concluded in July 2024 between the Government of Ghana's team, comprising the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission and the Ministry of Finance, and representatives of the union. In line with the agreement reached, payment of the allowance commenced in August 2024 and continued through to December 2024. Unfortunately, these payments have stalled since January 2025. Throughout this period, staff have exercised considerable patience and restraint, largely out of respect for assurances from NIA management, who communicated that tireless efforts were being made to resolve the matter and resume payment. Part of management's communication regarding these efforts was evident during a press briefing held on June 18, 2025, where management publicly re-echoed their assurance that the outstanding allowances will be paid, quote, very, very soon, unquote. Despite this and many assurances as of today, especially after a crunch meeting at the Ministry of Finance, no concrete steps or timelines have been provided to address the matter. Repeated follow-ups, constructive engagements, and our demonstrated willingness to cooperate in good faith have regrettably not been met with the urgency and seriousness that the issue demands. We acknowledge the efforts of key stakeholders who have attempted to facilitate a resolution, and we appreciate their continued engagement. However, the absence of concrete action from the Ministry of Finance has left our members spread across the head office, regional office, premium centers, and district office under severe financial and emotional strain. This industrial action is not taken lightly, it reflects the deep frustration of staff who have endured this situation for far too long amidst persistent neglect. Consequently, all PSWU members at the NIA are directed to withdraw their services indefinitely starting from Tuesday, 24th June 2025, until our legitimate concerns are addressed and outstanding payments resumed. We urge all members to remain united, peaceful, and law-abiding throughout this period. The union remains open to constructive dialogue, provided such discussions lead to prompt and full payment of the operational support allowance as negotiated, agreed, and signed. Thank you for your cooperation. Well, so this is the story at the National Insurance Authority. It comes as a surprise to a lot of us because when Yaya Kwaku took over, we were told that a lot is going to change, that Ken Atifa was doing everything wrong. It was said that Ken Atifa had sidelined him because he was an NDC person. Then he was maltreated for political reasons. And so he was restored there as the boss of the NIA. And this is the first time we are seeing the industrial action. They say that the agreement was made in July 2024 with the MPP to give them some salary. Very similar. It resonates with the NERSA story. Very similar to the NERSA story. Agreements made, everything on course, and then suddenly something happens. Well, we hope that things will change at the NIA and the workers will get their due. Okay, so that's good enough. Let's now get to the Martin Amidu story, if we have it. Martin Benz-Kaiser Amidu has written an article and he's concerned about Kisia Jabe's efforts at Ken Ofori-Atta. Many people consider Kisia Jabe's attempts at Ken Ofori-Atta and extradition and all of that as very personal, fundamentally being that when Kisia Jabe uses his authority to publish your name, that you are sought after because of Ghana's treaty relationship with Interpol. Interpol will have to publish it once the authority in Ghana says we are looking for this person. But it was said that it was disingenuous because Mr. Kisia Jabe, the OSP, at all material times was aware where the finance minister was. He was in touch with the finance minister's lawyers, and the finance minister was not running away. He is not a fugitive from justice because he has clear representation before the OSP. In spite of that, the OSP did the habeas corpus. OSP applied the habeas corpus in a very interesting way. He says, present me the body of Ken Ofori-Atta, otherwise I talk to no one, I talk to no document, I speak to no lawyer. Do me the habeas corpus, and that has been thought to be very personal. Tonight, Martin Benz-Kaiser Amidu, the first occupant of the Office of the Special Prosecutor created by the Akufo-Addo administration, has something to say about it. Let's see what he says. He says the now notoriously shameful Gestapo-style and humiliating search of Ken Ofori-Atta's residence on 10th February 2025 in his absence in the United States of America by a select team of operatives of the National Security Secretariat led by Richard Jakpa, and his subsequent declaration by the Special Prosecutor Kisia Jabe at a media press conference on 12th February 2025 as a fugitive from justice has now confirmed to be a unified approved government operation masquerading as an exercise of discretionary power by separate independent law enforcement agencies. Martin Amidu continues by saying that the pieces of the jigsaw have fallen in place, and those with common sense can now reason and see that the Special Prosecutor's letter of 25th January 2025 demanding the appearance of the former Minister of Finance Ken Ofori-Atta in person at the Office of the Special Prosecutor for investigations for the suspected commission of a number of corruption and corruption-related offenses and the invasion of the privacy of his home on 10 February 2025 by the National Security Services were intertwined and interwoven as coming directly upon the orders of the government. Martin Amidu continues by saying that the balloon concealing the dishonorable lies and disclaimers that Special Prosecutor has consistently told the citizens of Ghana at a series of media conferences that he was acting independently of government directives and orders has been burst by the exclusive interview granted by the Deputy Minister for Justice, Justice Sremsai, on 11th June 2025 to Joy News, which puts the government's active participation in the unified operation to humiliate Ken Ofori-Atta in court of public opinion beyond doubt. As myjoyonline.com reported on 10th of June 2025, quote, the search of SML on warrant was carried out under court orders, was supported by personnel from the National Security Secretariat, unquote, showing the joint nature of the operations from the inception of the OSP's inquisition called an investigation. The source of the Special Prosecutor's Authority to conduct the political kabuki dance of trying Ken Ofori-Atta in the court of public opinion, beginning with the media conference of 12 February 2025, leading to the second infamous public show of declaring him a wanted person, together with the declaration of his being a fugitive from justice on 2nd June 2025, and finally culminating in the publication of an Interpol red notice against him on 5th June 2025, have now come home to roost at the President's office as the repository of the Prosecutorial Executive Authority of Ghana. In my last discourse on the political persecution of Ken Ofori-Atta in court of public opinion, instead of prosecution in court of law, I asked for answers whether the special prosecutor had the temerity to issue an Interpol red notice against a former member of the National Security Council who was abroad without notifying the president of his intentions for reasons of the country's national security. The Deputy Minister for Justice, Justice Sremsai, has provided the answers by confirming my suspicion that the special prosecutor was acting on the direct orders of the government and the Attorney General's office all along. This is a typical case of, quote, cry havoc and let slip the dogs of war. See Mark Antony in Julius Caesar. Masanamidu likes literature, doesn't he? The OSP has no authority to make any extradition request to the United States of America pursuant to the request and published Interpol red notice. An extradition request to the designated authority of a counterpart requested state, such as the U.S., has to come from a designated authority of counterpart requesting state, such as Ghana, even though a law enforcing authority of the requesting state might have initiated the request for extradition. I don't quite get that, but let's move on. I'm sure we'll get it as we go on. Consequently, he says, the special prosecutor could not have cowardly refused or failed to investigate Ken Ofori-Atta while the New Patriotic Party, which appointed him, was in government, only to turn around 18 days after the MPP handed over power to NDC to courageously hound him in the media without instructions from above, and an assurance that the government, as the requesting authority in Ghana, will make an extradition request to the U.S. for his surrender to Ghana. The corruption and corruption-related offenses for which a warrant of arrest was obtained for the arrest of Ken Ofori-Atta, upon which the special prosecutor requested the Interpol red notice, is stated as abuse of public office for profit. It follows that should Ken Ofori-Atta be surrendered to the Ghanaian authority, which is most likely in my estimation, he cannot be brought to trial in Ghana for any other crime or offense on account of any other matter than those for which the extradition has taken place until he has been restored or has had opportunity of returning to the territory of the high contracting party by whom he has been surrendered. See Article 7 of the Bilateral Extradition Treaty. Okay, that's Martin Amidu. It says the Constitution demands even-handed justice in the investigation of criminal suspects, no matter who the suspects are. That is why, as a constitutional advocate who made findings on suspected corruption offenses in the pending uninvestigated Ejapa royalties transaction report, as a founding special prosecutor, I also have a constitutional duty to speak out against the inquisition instead of the prosecution of Ken Ofori-Atta, who is entitled to the fundamental rights of a fair trial in a court of law. Stop subverting the 1992 Constitution. That's Martin Benskiser Amidu speaking there. He says that he had also investigated Ken Ofori-Atta when he was Minister of Finance relating to the Ejapa royalties, but he didn't go about it this way. That he says that the way the Deputy Attorney General responded to the interview on Joy FM suggests that the government is part and parcel of Kisi Ajaben's operations, and that Kisi Ajaben's operations may constitute a subversion of the 1992 Constitution. As they say, in a democracy, the minority will always have their say, but the majority will have their way until the next election. My good friend, Kujito Ablakwa, is doing well. He's doing quite well, isn't he? That's what we heard. He said he was going to make the passport office work 24 hours. Has that started? Should we take our cameras there to check tonight? Should we go to the passport office tonight and see whether the 24-hour is working? I keep advising some of these young friends of ours that politics and governance is a long process. You know, you're going to be in power for 4 years, maybe 8 years, maybe 12 years, maybe 16 years. So you really have to be calculated in the things you say. And unfortunately for this generation of politicians, there's always social media that doesn't forget. For the politicians of the earlier generations, there was no social media, there's no video, there's nothing. There's only one GBC. They can say things and get away with it. But now the democracy standards are higher, the stakes are higher. You cannot say things and get away with it. One day when I become, I'm nominated for a ministerial position, everything that I've been saying on Good Evening Ghana will come to the vetting. They're going to play it and say, hey, Mr. Paul, 2017, this is what you said. Play the video and I'll be on the TV. And then if I have said some things that I'm contradicting myself at that time, I'll be grossly embarrassed. I may even lose the position. So we all have to be careful on the things we say. Consistency is very important. Sticking with your political philosophy is always very important. Okudzeto Ablakwa has a penchant for settings. And it's not that good because he's from Presec. It's against all of us. He has such a huge penchant for settings. Those of you know what I mean. That they just come and say it. Just say it. Just say what the people want to hear. Just say it. Whether you do it or not, just say it. So he came out and said that passport is going to be cheaper. Apparently, I've seen it on social media. We haven't checked that yet. But apparently, the passport has actually gone up. The cost of obtaining a passport, when he said it is cheaper, has actually gone up. He came and said that he's promising chip embedded passport. And then it turned out that Akufo-Addo had already done it. Some people had chip embedded passports already before he became foreign minister. So that's swept under the carpet. Then he came up and said that in America, there's fraud in the Washington office, total, complete fraud. And that is a guy called Kwate who was brought in by MPP to siphon money and steal money. And he announced to Parliament that all the money that had been stolen by the MPP in Washington, D.C. was $4 million to enrage Ghanaians against the MPP. Yes, many Ghanaians were outraged about that. But is it true or settings? Whatever it is, whether it's true or it's not true, time will definitely give it up. And giving it up will occur before the next 4 years. And it will be time for atonement of sins. And that could be nasty for politicians when you're asked to atone for sins. You saw what happened to some of the MPP parliamentarians in the 2024 election. The MPP party as a whole is called atonement of sins in politics. And it happens everywhere. And it happens to either party. So when I see these things, I talk about it because I'm quite worried. I believed him until I heard Alima Mahama here, who was the ambassador in Washington, D.C. I believed that Barack until I heard Alima.
They come to audit every year. I'm saying we don't receive cash in any way. And he has no way. Control and accountant department, they have senior accountants managing the account in Washington on permanent term. They post them there. 2 senior accountants managing the account. Control and accountant general will not even allow them to divert any money. And every time, in US, you cannot just come and siphon money. You cannot just come and siphon money from any Ghana account. It's not possible. Okay. But I'm saying, he says he's going to conduct investigation. Let him do the investigation. And I want us to hold him to it so that people don't just come and say anything. Then after some months, it just goes on.
And I was also quite surprised that Ablakwa said in Parliament that Kwate guy has embezzled $4 million of Ghana's money. No charge, no arrest, no anything, no paperwork, no invitation. I think you should have been telling Parliament that, Mr. Speaker, an arrest has been conducted and the charge has been preferred. And Mr. Kwate is going to be prosecuted for a potential 4 million cedis, which prosecution starts next week. Since he made the statement in Parliament, apparently Mr. Kwate is going about his business. He doesn't even know what is happening. Nobody has called him to ask him anything. It makes sense, therefore, what Alima is saying, that is more believable, that the money that was being charged was agency commission. It gets worse for the foreign minister in Parliament when Samuel Gyampo, the ranking member of Foreign Affairs Committee in Parliament, who is also the former Deputy Chief of Staff and a former Minister for Lands, took his turn to speak about this matter. Listen, it gets worse. It gets worse because he reveals to Parliament that Kwate actually had been appointed by the NDC in 2015 on a temporary basis to do the same thing. Exactly the same thing that he had been doing from 2015. In 2019, it was formalized, and he's been doing it till now. He was brought in by the NDC government. That's what Samuel Gyampo told Parliament. Or Gyampo, the newly appointed, is it Director General or Chief Executive? Chief Executive of the National Shippers Authority. Ghana Shippers Authority. Prof, so the university, I did an editorial here when you were appointed. I said that the university is losing people like you to public life outside the university. Well, how? What are your students going to do?
But who told you the university is using us?
Haven't you been lost to the university? Are you not working at Shippers Authority?
I've not been lost. I am coming from the lecture hall, straight to the lecture hall to this place.
Oh, you're teaching?
I'm teaching.
Fantastic.
I am the only CEO who is on secondment to the Shippers Authority, and still I'm teaching for free. I'm teaching all my courses, supervising all my dissertation. So
do you find time to do that?
Yes, I mean, I have multitasked.
So how many courses do you teach?
Remember, I used to work at the IEA 14 years, and I was combining that with teaching. Okay.
But that's kind of related. IEA work and university work is related. It's research work. This is very different.
It's about how to structure your own time. Lectures start at 7:30, and so you can go do your early morning lectures afterwards. I mean, Professor Gyampo, those days he used to teach us. He would come early in the morning. Professor Michael Kwe, those days he used to teach us. He would come early in the morning and teach, and then go to do their regular work. And so for me, I am too young to abandon teaching for anything.
I'm so happy to hear that.
Regardless of wherever I find myself, if I'm in the country, I'll teach whatever.
So you are teaching like a full-time teacher. You are marking scripts. You are marking IAs, doing exams.
My appointment started. I got my appointment at the end of January this year, and it was in the middle of the semester. The semester ended. I conducted the exam, graded scripts. We are in a new semester, and I'm teaching Poly 442, Poly 356, and then I have some PhD students that I'm supervising, and I have dissertations that I'm supervising. So,
that's but why are you not being paid for that?
No, you cannot be paid by
double
the same government twice, and so I do that for free, and then
I see. So you attend faculty meetings?
As and when I have the time, I'll go. So far, ever since this semester commenced, I think they are yet to have their meeting. So if it is held and I have the time, I'll go. But the teaching, I'm always in the classroom.
Oh, that's interesting.
But I'm coming from the lecture hall to
right now.
Place. Yeah.
Oh, congratulations.
So I'm saying your analysis you did, if you had consulted me, I would have told you to tamper that analysis with some trepidation, because your rule that you set was not going to fit for everybody. I mean, there are others who...
But you are doing that as a nationalist, as benevolent. You don't have to do that.
I don't have to do that. I mean, why?
Another lecturer will say that I'm too busy, I can't do it.
Well, I know, but I think I have so many things in my head that I want to continue to impart to the younger ones, and so I don't see why. Wherever I get to, if I'm in Ghana, I'll still try to go tell students some things.
But you're not doing UTAG anymore?
Oh no, I stepped down and I allowed my vice president to continue my unexpired term and when I was appointed. So I mean, right from the day I was appointed, I met with my UTAG members and I explained to them that so I cannot go on. Of course, if you don't want to be seen as having been conflicted or anything, and so I stepped down. But behind the scenes, if there is anything that I'm able to do for them, I do.
Oliver Vomaho supporting you on social media earlier today about something you said about Kisi Agyapong. It's generated some confusion. Your concern was that he should tread cautiously. What was the point about it?
Paul, I think we had a discussion on TV last Saturday. I expressed a concern. He had every right to come and also clarify to Ghanaians that he has all the good intentions, and I think he added a line in his press statement that I found unfortunate. I responded to it, and I want to leave it as it is. I mean, in Ghana here, at least I've demonstrated to many discerning people. I'm not talking about people whose minds are fixed. I've demonstrated to many discerning people that when you are talking about those who love Ghana, you cannot count all of them. You cannot count them without me. And so when it comes to the love of Ghana, I love Ghana. When it comes to doing the right things for Ghana, I want to be associated with it. And so whatever good works that the OSP is doing for Ghana, I am in full support of it. And I do not want that thing that happened. In fact, I had a lot of things to say, but at the same time, if I want to go on that tangent, it will look like I'm fighting the OSP, and I want him to remain focused in prosecuting whatever mandate.
But you still think he should be careful not to occasion financial loss?
Well, I said that, but I don't want to hype it I've given him an advice, and then it is out there in the public domain. But what I don't want done is to be seen to be fighting somebody who is also helping Ghana to fight a certain cause. I don't want him to feel distracted, and so I don't want to dwell too much on that. He said what he had to say. I came out to clarify that the insinuation that he made was unfortunate, because I would not be the one who would stand in between somebody who would come or prevent somebody doing the right thing to advance the cause of Mother Ghana from doing so. I won't do that. And so I've clarified, and I don't want to go into that matter too much. Otherwise, like I said, it will look like I'm fighting, and I'm not interested in that.
What happens at the Shippers Authority?
Shippers Authority was established to protect the interests of shippers. Long ago,
who are shippers? Those who own ships?
No. So oftentimes people see you and they are telling you that bring me ship, and no. Shippers are those who transport goods, okay, from one country to the other. Long ago, when shippers authorities have not been established, shipping lines had a field day. So if you are putting this on a ship, transporting it from Germany to Ghana, the shipping line would tell you whatever amount, they charge you whatever amount that they want to charge, and then you must pay, because your country maybe doesn't own a ship. And so they were milking shippers dry. And if I say shippers now, you understand.
Yeah.
Those who are buying and putting their wares on the ships and bringing it,
yes.
or those who are doing same across, from Ghana to another. So shippers authorities were established across the globe to regulate the relationship between shipping lines and then shippers. Okay. So that when you bring, our law mandates us to tell you to bring us your charges. So when you bring your charges, we would have conducted research across the globe to see whether you are reaping the people, the shippers dry, you are milking them dry or not. So we are able to tell you that this particular charge we will disallow. This particular charge, we think that you should maintain it, don't increase, and order. So we try to come in between the shippers and the shipping lines just for the purposes of bringing a certain regulation that will ensure that shippers will be able to go about their duties with their interests protected, and then shipping lines would also not be taken advantage of by the shippers, because sometimes as a shipper there are certain goods you are also not supposed to put on the ship, and so we try to create that balanced relationship so that the two will be able to. Without shipping, there is no international trade, okay, and without international trade, we've taken trade as a given, but without trade as a whole, no nation's effort aimed at bringing about development will see any meaningful light of day. And so we do all these things with the view to also promoting international trade. And when we talk about shipping, we are not only talking about the one that takes place only on the sea. Shipping takes place in the air. It takes place.
That's called shipping as well?
Yes.
The freight.
So one day, I'm sure, I know by now, Ghanaians know I'm a bike rider. One day something broke on my motorbike and I went to see the mechanic and he said he has to ship it. And then later he said, yes, he's gone to the airport, he's brought it. I said, so you understand shipping? I said, yes. Shipping takes place also in the sea. So we are talking about shipping as in the movement of goods from one place to the other, both in the air, on the sea, and on the land.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, that is shipping. And so
the mandate is extensive.
Yes, within these three areas that shipping takes place, we go there to make sure that the interests of shippers are protected. And so if somebody is moving a truck from Ghana to Ivory Coast, carrying tomatoes or something, we are interested in ensuring that they are not unnecessarily harassed by security agencies and all that. We do all these things just for the purposes of ensuring that the interests of shippers are protected and trade goes on in a manner that will bring some developmental value to Ghana.
Oh wow, that's interesting.
Yes.
So that's what okay, good. So do you have your governing board in place already?
The governing board, I'm sure somewhere next week it will happen, because I'm aware tomorrow Gyampo and Ghana Maritime Authority, their board will be inaugurated, and I'm sure that either in the course of the week or somewhere next week we would also have ours.
So you're a regulator?
Yes, it's a regulator.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's the relationship with Gapoha?
Oh, Gapoha has the ports, and shippers go to the port to do their work. And so as they are operating in the ports, whatever happens to them in their relationship with both the port owners and shipping lines, we think that's affecting them. We go. So sometimes we've had to meet. In fact, I'm almost always meeting with my senior brother, the Director General of Gapoha, trying to resolve things. Sometimes shippers complain about Gapoha, and then we go to Gapoha and then we try to talk to them, and then they also would blame the shippers. And we try to manage situations and resolve.
So is your experience as an academic, as a professor of politics helping you?
Yes, I have been trained to be receptive to learning. I've been trained to be adaptive to all situations. And so you are managing situations. And you are there because also you have people who have been there for 30 years. You have people who have been there for 30 years.
Shippers Authority?
Shippers Authority is 51 years old.
Oh, is that old?
It's 51 years old this year.
Oh, I see.
Yes, so you are there with people
73 or something.
Long, it's been established long ago. And so I sit on the laps of those who have been there for long, and they're able to guide you. I don't antagonize anybody. When I went there, I had a simple message for them. I don't care who recruited you and who brought you in here. The most important thing is that we have a work to do. And so I demanded loyalty, commitment, and hard work from them. And I told them, if you are going to give me these, let's work together. And so far, it's been so good. And I listened to them. I'm thinking about prosecuting the mandate of the authority in a manner that would fit into the realization of President Mahama's agenda of ensuring that the cost of doing business in Ghana is brought down. And so for me, what I will do to make the president succeed in my small corner, that's all I'm focused on.
Let's shift to, once you're here, let's take the next 5 minutes to talk about constitutional matters. You've been at the IEA for that long. Are you still in touch with the IEA, by the way?
Occasionally I speak to Jim Mensah, and occasionally I speak
She's now the electoral commissioner.
Yes. We relish those moments that we used to work together. Sometimes I speak to the husband, Dr. Charles Mensah, and then some other officials of the place. Occasionally we speak to them. But I've always said that it was the IE that trained me, it was Jim Mensah who trained me, and so I cherish the relationship I have with them.
Have you seen that Dr. Kwesi Prempeh is working on constitutional amendment? These are things that IEA had been talking about for a long time.
No, let me tell you the genesis of this whole idea of. I'm proud to say that I was part of those who mooted, whose work led to the idea of constitution review way back in 2006. The Netherlands Institute for Multi-Party Democracy had been supporting or sponsoring the Ghana Political Parties program, I think, from the year 2000. And in 2006, we wrote a proposal that sought to put together a team of researchers who were supposed to audit the gaps in Ghana's democracy and make recommendations for reform. I recall that the team was first made up of a Zimbabwean professor, Professor Reginald Austin, Professor Kofi Kumado. These were the two scholars, and I was the small boy research assistant working with them. They did a work that produced a certain document, but this document was taken over and fleshed out by Professor Kwame Nahoy, Professor Yao Chumesi, and Dr. William Ahaji. And I was still also the research assistant working with them. That document is called the Democracy Consolidation Strategy Paper. The document essentially audited Ghana's democracy and identified the gaps and made recommendations for reform. One key recommendation of that document was that even though the 1992 Constitution had served or has still served as well, nevertheless it contains provisions that hinder the maturation of our democratization process. And so the Constitution itself has to be reviewed. It was one of the numerous proposals that we had made to fix the gaps or to address the gaps in Ghana's multi-party democracy. And so when we made that recommendation in our report in 2008, afterwards we had the 2008 elections that was won by Prof. Mills. The idea of constitution review then was sold to him, and then he bought into the idea. That's how come he kick-started the constitution review process. So we made that call on him, and then he bought into that idea. And we actually recommended how the Constitution Review Commission ought to be constituted, and he bought into that idea also. So as you may be aware, for a long period, within some period, the Constitution Review process took place, and they came up with a voluminous report that was titled From a Political to a Developmental Constitution. I think around the time they brought out their final...
That's a Mill CRC.
Yes,
they are two CRC.
Yes, yeah. By the time they were done and they set up the Constitutional Review Implementation Committee headed by Professor Fiaju. I think somebody took the matter to court. Is it Richard the last guy?
Yeah.
He took the matter to court, questioning whether the president must be the one who should initiate the process. By the time the court gave a directive that, or a ruling that the processes were legitimate, I think we were caught up in the elections, 2016 elections, and political parties had to fight for it, and so the idea was abandoned. When elections were over, 2017, you had a new government. I was expecting that President Akufo-Addo would have carried through the process. But typical of us, our plague as a developing country is that we always have the challenge of policy discontinuity. And so if somebody initiated, sometimes we develop cold feet in addressing or continuing what someone has initiated. And so the whole 8-year period, the Constitution Review exercise was put on hold. But thankfully, President Mahama came, he's resurrected it again, and then he's put in place a credible person, Professor H. Kwesi Pempe, to lead the process, and I'm excited about it. I look forward to the 1992 Constitution being reviewed. You see, the Constitution is the fundamental law of the land. If it has problem, we have problem everywhere, in our political life, in our socio-economic, well-being as a people. And so it is important that it is fine-tuned and reviewed such that it becomes a credible document that can regulate and guide whatever we do as a people in Ghana.
Akufo-Addo felt that he didn't need much touching. That's why in the 8 years he didn't. I mean, many people had different opinions.
The challenge is that when the Constitution Review process was ongoing, he was consulted, and he didn't say he didn't need much touching. And then the challenge has also been that, you see, we cannot determine our political future. We cannot allow those who hold power alone, to determine our political future. Our political future and destiny must be determined by we, the people, ourselves, not by just politicians. But what I see is that a politician supports one thing when he's in opposition. He gets into power, he doesn't support it. Let me tell you about the bill on public funding of political parties. For instance, politicians in opposition, they clamor for it. They get to power and they see it as a dangerous weapon for their political opponents. So then they, once in power, then they develop cold feet. In much the same way, when people are in opposition, they see the challenges and the weaknesses of the Constitution. But when they get into power and the Constitution is giving them all the powers, then they tend to think that, you can make use of that. But I think that what is right and what is not right should be determined by all of us. It shouldn't be determined, it shouldn't be shaped by whether one is in power or one is in opposition.
A text is coming in for the Shippers Council. I don't know, Kobe, whether I get some text about the Shippers Council's situation. Somebody says, please ask Prof if his authority works closely with various export agencies, GEPA, Free Zones, EXIM, to promote export development. Do you do that? Do you work with those people?
They are part of the stakeholders. We interact with them. Exporters are also shippers. So whatever their interests and challenges are, they bring it to our attention, and we try to go behind the scenes to engage the leadership of these stakeholders, heads of these institutions, with a view to addressing them.
Kofi Owusu Bempah, avowed supporter of Kennedy Gyampo, says, I should tell you, said, Paul, tell Professor Gyampo that I'm patiently watching. What does that mean? He said he's patiently watching. Is it a threat? Should we consider that as a threat?
Tell him that, Ransom Gyampo, nothing has ever threatened me before.
But he says he's patiently watching.
Well, we are here.
Another one, you're generating a lot of interesting text. Another one, quite angry MPP, says, Paul, please tell your friend that Akufo-Addo did not abandon the constitutional review process. Let him know that. Well, you don't say much, but he doesn't add much. He said, but he's angry. He said, tell your friend that Akufo-Addo did not abandon the constitutional process.
But the fact of the matter is that during the 8-year term, nothing happened to the constitution until a new regime.
More is coming. I will also refer to him as your friend, Paul. He called on the ban on illegal mining and a demonstration. What happened to the ban? Is illegal mining over? Prof, do you want to deal with that?
No, but I think that
I heard you speak to this on TV3.
Yeah. But so I don't know. I don't know whether it's deliberate, but of course you can also, maybe he's not heard me speak, but I've never stopped talking about illegal mining. It is senseless to think that illegal mining was bad then and now it is good. It was bad then and it is bad today. And so we have never stopped asking that we do more to ensure that it is addressed. And so we've been talking about this over and over. I mean,
they said a state of emergency hasn't come.
Yes, we have called for a state of emergency. And we've been told that the president, or commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, will not just get up and declare a state of emergency. In fact, yes, Saturday I made this call, and we had a government official also texting in to explain that President Mahama will have to take guidance and advice from his top security heads on how to proceed on this. And once he's properly advised, he will do the needful. That's what we've been told. And so it's something that some of us strongly feel should happen. But of course, if he has to do it, he must be properly also advised, because what we see that he is capable of doing may not be the same thing that the security couples may be watching. And so it's important that he's properly advised. And I'm told that he's getting the right advice from the right caliber of security couples. And when things are ripe, I'm sure this may also happen.
Another person wants me to ask you something. Professor Gyampo, this is the last question I'm taking for him. He has to go. It's controversial. Chief Justice removal. You're a political scientist and an authority on good governance. Chief Justice removal. Professor Ransford Gyampo. What do you think?
Well, let me see. My general view is that I wish we are able to grow as a democracy such that once people get appointed, they themselves also conduct themselves such that their appointment, even though they have secured tenure, their appointment is also truly secured, because then you wouldn't have done anything that would attract people's interests, and people would have warranted maybe the call for your removal or something like that. So my point is, nobody has just gotten up to say that the Chief Justice should be removed. It's as a result of a certain process. People have petitioned. The President has set up a committee as by law, as required by law, and they are looking into the matter. I wish that as they look into the matter, if we are told that the Chief Justice is flawless or the Chief Justice is not guilty, then let her be exonerated. But if per the work that is being done by the committee, truly those who raised issues with her have a case, and then the whip or a decision will have to be taken in accordance with law, I mean, so be it. So long as it is not somebody, let's say the appointing authority, so long as it's not the President manipulating anything. Okay, but so long as the outcome of the process is going to be fair and genuine, I mean, whatever it could go either way. However it goes, I mean, it's a process, and so we should just respect it.
But you're saying the process is constitutional.
Yeah, if the process is constitutional and it is following law, and it is not that the executive arm of government is manipulating things, but it's the process that is going on. I mean, we're all here. It's happened before. The processes were allowed to go on. And so my view is that duty bearers, when you are given the opportunity to serve such that nobody would have issues that would compel them to want to petition for your removal.
But shouldn't they feel confident that if a petition goes?
My point is that, you see, everybody would have to be appointed by somebody. Okay? You wouldn't come from the moon to come and head a position. But when you are appointed, how you discharge your duty should be such that you should be able to win the admiration of all. I work with the Shippers Authority, and I'm serving the shipper interest across the political divide. MPP shippers are there, NDC shippers are there.
How do you know them? How do you know MPP shippers?
Oh, I'm saying that Ghanaians, we are highly politicized. We are highly divided on the lines of the two main political parties, and so I have not spoken to them about their political affiliations, but I know that you have MPP people there, you have NDC people there, but you are serving their interest, all of them, regardless of the partisan coloration. And so my point is that once you are given that role to serve, discharge it such that the NDC people would admire you, the MPP people would admire you, the PNC people would admire you, the C people. Then they'll say, well, this man or this woman, well, he's not for us. We didn't appoint him, we didn't appoint her, but we like the way and manner he or she is being fair and honest to the job that he or she is doing. And in that case, you yourself, you also strengthen the nation's effort and quest to build
shouldn't such persons, shouldn't we have a system where such persons are very confident that going through the process there will be no political underhand dealings? Shouldn't we have that kind of confidence? If we should, do you support the calls that in future such hearings should not be in camera?
Well, I do not think that in the first place, looking at the composition of the committee and what is going on, I don't think that if you have a case, you should fear. You see, my father, before he died, he told me that okay, so if your matter, you have a solid case, you don't fear. Look, I applied for promotion to the rank of a full professor of political science around the time that I was fighting with virtually everybody who was supposed to be defending my application. Okay, at that time, I virtually had issues with all of them. But I knew the work that I'd done. And I felt that the work would speak for me. And so it didn't matter whether you liked me or didn't like me. When it went abroad, it came. And the work spoke. Okay, so my point is that if you have a genuine case,
should we not remove the in-camera hearing to put more pressure on the authorities to do a good thing?
But you think that they are doing something?
I've not heard. I don't know. But
I think that it depends on what the law or the rule says. What is fair is what I ask for. And so if per their processes, they have to sit in camera because of the sensitivity of some of the issues, that is their judgment, and I will respect it because they are more learned than I may be.
No, the law says they should sit in camera.
Well, the law says
but during the process, people in the bar association said, no. Put this for the general public to see.
People in the bar association say that they
civil society,
should go
why don't you consider
against the law?
Yeah, why don't you consider?
I'm saying people in the bar association say they should go against the law.
Yeah, we're looking for an amendment.
So let us sit and amend the law. I was having a discussion with Mr. Adom on an issue, and I was trying to make a certain point to him, and he told me that, look, your point is reasonable, but until you push for an amendment of the law is the law. And so if Ghana Bar Association, they are still,
not as a group, but some of them.
Some of them.
Not as a group, yeah.
Those who are arguing the way you are arguing, if they truly believe in what they are doing, I think that the best thing is for them to help.
So you don't consider it as an attack on the judiciary? This process of finding a prima facie and sending the Chief Justice into the Article 146 process.
I don't.
You don't see it as an attack on the judiciary?
No. So
some people see it as an attack.
Well,
on the judiciary.
that is their opinion. But if there is a case and somebody petitions and you say it should be looked into, if you describe it as an attack, when the case came, it wasn't that we heard the matter. The presidency got wind of the petition and say, because somebody has petitioned you, we are kicking you out. That didn't happen.
They couldn't have done that.
Yes. So my point is that it is as a matter of due process. The law itself, the courts themselves, don't they also favor due processes? And so if due processes are being followed and you describe it as an attack on the judiciary, then it means we want us to create a jungle of some untouchables. But in democracy, we are all equal, regardless of your position that you hold. If you run afoul of the law, you must be dealt with according to the law. Mm-hmm. I was driving and I was stopped by the police, and they thought I'd done something untoward, and they stopped me. They were talking to me. They asked whatever they were looking for. I showed it to them. They said, "Go." It is regardless of status. We should all be dealt with according to the law, irrespective of who you are. And so if a certain segment of the citizenry are being dealt with and we discuss or we describe it as an attack, then it means that we want some people to be untouchable in society. And I think that
I have my own last question and
I thought
another
you said
one.
You were done.
This one.
Tomorrow morning I'll go to work.
You talk about Pabio Street a lot. You talk about Pabio Street a lot.
Pabio
Street a lot. In Salt Pond, isn't it?
Salt
P. Avian says place.
Yes.
Are you looking to run for MP over there?
I have not. Man, know thyself. See, I haven't developed the skin to be able to run.
Parliament will need you.
Well, if my people come and carry me there, I would go. You know,
if the MPP come and carry you there, would you go?
I said, if my people come and carry me
your
there.
people are divided into MPP and NDC over there. If it's the MPP side that comes and say, Gyampo, yes, press council, I have 4 years. MP.
Remember last Saturday, I said it openly on TV that I will join a political party. I haven't joined a party yet, and once I join, I will tell everybody in Ghana. And so for now, I don't know which party
you will join.
But I will join a political party by all means. And once
at the end of the 4-year term, or
I have not said that. I said I will join.
You will join the political party.
Paul, you should know that.
Do you encourage all?
No, I'm saying that. Listen, Paul. Listen. I'm saying that you should know that me and you are my senior. Okay, but I'm also a very
People
smart.
don't believe that. People don't believe that.
Oh, how?
I told them and they're screaming.
You're my senior.
We're both at political science. We're both Michael Quay's children. So we're just continuing the conversation from 20 years ago.
You're my senior, but by the grace of God, I'm also a little bit
you're
smart.
You're a professor.
So a little bit smart. So if I want to answer a certain question, I'll answer it the way I want to answer.
Yeah,
you cannot trick me.
I won't trick you. Very last one. Somebody says that you said the MPP was going to stay in opposition for long if they don't change a few things. But the question is, who are you supporting in the January 31st?
January 31st.
MPP are in January 31st. They are electing a flag bearer.
Oh, but who am I supporting? Saying?
Somebody says I should ask.
Who am I supporting? Saying I don't belong to MPP, and so
from the civil society perspective,
I have respect for some of the aspirants. I have respect for them. Okay, but I think that the MPP as it stands now, they have a lot of work to do. Okay, a lot of work they have to do, and I believe that if they would listen to me, they should focus on rebuilding the party, strengthening the party. You see, I believe in multi-party democracy, and I believe in the existence of a credible opposition that would keep the ruling government on its toes. If the opposition is not credible, then you leave the job to the individuals or civil society. Okay, but I think that within a multi-party democratic practice, you need credible opposition parties to be able to keep the ruling government on its toes. Otherwise, he who is cutting a path does not know his back is crooked. Okay, so they are supposed to be there not only to oppose, but to offer the kind of constructive suggestions that will help us develop Mother Ghana. After all, if you help Mother Ghana develop, even from the level or from the background of opposition, the country becomes easier for you to govern when things have been done right, and then you get into power, you get the mandate to govern. I think that they have a lot of work to do in strengthening the party before they think about elections. And for me, that is an advice that I'll give to them. They can listen. If they listen, it's fine. If they don't listen, I mean, we're telling them some of these things before the elections, but some of them, they had developed sharp teeth, and then so they were insulting us. But you see, a teacher runs for Gyampo. Insult doesn't do me anything. When we're growing, say if you insult a teacher, it's only his dress that will be torn, but it will not touch. I mean, when MPP is an elitist party, and so you would expect. See, you did what Kwesi Jonah taught you to. Two main party traditions: you have mass party and an elite party. Okay, so I expect them, even in communication, you recruit the caliber of people who will communicate in a manner that is typified or typical of your tradition as an elite. But now, if you say something, then they want to be insulting you and all that. Well, we'll not insult them back. We'll focus on doing what we know we can do best for Mother Ghana.